Welcome to Karma Chronicles. Please like the video and subscribe. Let's begin.
I had just zipped up my blazer when my phone lit up on the hotel dresser. Unknown number. I ignored it at first, slipped on my heels, and was halfway through brushing my hair when it rang again. Second time, same number. I answered with a short, "Hello." "Oh, good, you're up," came the voice I hadn't heard in almost a year. Cold, smooth, the kind that always acted like it was doing you a favor just by speaking. "Linda, my stepmother." "I figured I should be the one to tell you," she said, dragging out the words like she was savoring them. "We've gone ahead and moved the remaining funds from your mother's trust. It just didn't make sense to let it sit there unused when Madison could benefit now." I froze, brush midair. "Excuse me?" "Oh, don't play dumb. Your mother left that money just sitting in limbo. It's been over a decade. Madison's starting her skincare line and could use the boost. I'm sure your mother would have wanted her family to thrive." That word, family, tasted like poison coming from her. I stared at my reflection. I didn't flinch. My hands didn't shake. I just set the brush down. "You went into the trust?" I asked flatly. She laughed. "You make it sound so dramatic. You always had a flair for theatrics. Anyway, I thought you should know before you find out from the lawyer." I kept my voice level. "Thanks for the heads up." "Don't pretend you're not furious," she snapped. "Your mother babied you into thinking you were some golden girl. But you're not. You're average. You're a glorified office drone who's done nothing with your life. Madison is building something. She deserves that money more than you ever did." Her voice climbed like she wanted a reaction, wanted me to scream or cry. But I didn't. I just stood there and breathed through my nose. "You done?" I said. She laughed again, sharper now. "You always were ungrateful, and now you get what you deserve." I hung up, didn't say goodbye, didn't give her the satisfaction. I stared at the hotel carpet for a second, not because I was shocked, but because I'd been waiting for this exact moment. She thought she'd outplayed me. What she didn't know was that I'd already worked with Mom's old lawyer months ago. The trust was locked tighter than a damn bank vault, and every attempt to touch it would leave a trail she couldn't cover. I wasn't shaking. I was done waiting. I picked up my phone again and dialed. The phone rang twice before it connected. I didn't even say hello. "Linda tried it," I said. "This morning?" There was a pause on the other end, then the lawyer's calm voice. "Come in as soon as you can." I hung up and grabbed my bag. As I walked out of the hotel room, my mind went right back to the beginning, the start of all this, the reason I never trusted that woman in the first place. I was 16 when my mom died. Car accident. No warning, no goodbyes. Just one knock at the door, and my world was gone. Dad was destroyed, but not for long. By the time I turned 17, he was already seeing Linda. She was sweet at first, fake sweet. Complimented my hair, brought me makeup I didn't ask for, acted like she was trying. Then they got married, and everything flipped. Linda moved into our house like she owned it. Brought her daughter Madison, who was 14 then, all braces and crocodile tears. Within a month, I was a guest in my own home. My mom's stuff started disappearing. Her sweaters, her kitchen towels, even her damn recipe box, replaced with Linda's designer taste and farmhouse signs like we were on HGTV. I asked where my mom's things went once, just once, and Linda looked me dead in the eye and said, "This house needs to heal, honey. We can't live in a shrine." Madison got the biggest bedroom. I got moved to the one above the garage because you're closer to college anyway. Every time I got straight A's, barely a nod. Madison joined yearbook club, whole dinner party to celebrate. I'd bring home awards. She'd bring home attitude. Guess who got told she was finding herself? Dad? He didn't see any of it. Buried himself in work, traveling 3-4 days a week. When he was home, Linda played the perfect wife, and Madison turned on the waterworks if I so much as looked annoyed. I was the moody one, the cold one, the one who wasn't handling the change well. I handled it just fine. I just wasn't stupid. By the time I got into Penn State, I'd stopped trying to win anyone over. I kept my head down, worked 2 jobs, and did what I had to do. But the day that really flipped the switch for me, my college graduation, I'd worked my ass off, graduated summa cum laude. I invited Dad months in advance, even bought his flight ticket myself. Day of the ceremony, he called me 2 hours before it started. "Madison's not feeling great," he said. "Just a cold, but you know how she gets. We can't leave her alone." I stood there in my cap and gown, phone pressed to my ear, trying not to cry in front of my roommates. You're not coming? I said. It's complicated, he muttered. You understand. I didn't, but I said, sure. And that was it. I walked that stage alone, with nobody clapping for me but strangers. That night, I packed up my dorm, rented a truck, and drove to Pittsburgh. Found a one-bedroom apartment with paper-thin walls and no AC. Didn't matter, it was mine. No more trying to fit into a family that was never mine to begin with. I built everything from scratch: jobs, savings, reputation. I didn't ask for anything from them, not even when things got tight. And I swore on that graduation night I'd never let Linda take one more thing from me. I hadn't thought about graduation day in a while, but the second I got off the phone with my lawyer that morning, it all came flooding back. What it felt like to be invisible in my own family. What it felt like to be left behind. Thing is, 6 months ago, I already knew this day was coming. It started with a call out of nowhere. I was sitting in traffic on Route 19, barely moving, when my phone rang with a number I hadn't seen in years. Is this Rachel? The man asked. Yeah. Who's this? It's David Kinley, your mother's estate attorney. I pulled over without saying a word. I hadn't spoken to him since I was a teenager, since the funeral. He took a breath. I didn't want to bother you unless I had a reason. But something came up this week. Your stepmother called the firm twice, asking about the terms of your trust. Claimed she was just getting her paperwork in order. My stomach dropped. She doesn't have access, right? I asked. No, but that's why I'm calling. I think she's testing the waters. I'd like to meet with you and add some protections, just in case. 2 days later, I was back in his office. He looked exactly the same. Gray hair, glasses, always in a three-piece suit like time stopped in the 90s. But he was sharp, focused. We can lock the trust down with two-factor verification, he said. Add an internal alert system. Every time someone even tries to move a dollar, we'll get flagged. And we'll tie it to your signature only, no one else. I nodded, taking it all in. And, he continued, we'll create an audit trail. Every attempt gets logged. It becomes legal evidence. If someone tries something shady, it won't just be denied. It'll be documented. It wasn't just about the money. I mean, yeah, it was a decent amount, enough to change my life if I used it right. But this wasn't about greed. It was about my mom. She built her business from scratch, started with a tiny bridal shop downtown, and turned it into a full chain across the state. She didn't come from money. She made it, and she left that money for me. Not for Linda, not for Madison, for me. That trust was the one thing my mom could still do for me, even after she was gone. It wasn't about cash. It was about knowing I had something solid behind me, something safe, hers, and I wasn't about to let Linda dig her claws into it. So I signed every document the lawyer slid across the desk. No hesitation. I gave him permission to alert me the second anything moved. We even added a clause that froze the account automatically if anyone tried a manual override. He called it a deadbolt system. I called it peace of mind. When I left his office that day, I wasn't scared. I was ready. Because I knew Linda, knew how she operated, fake charm first, pressure second. Then, when no one was looking, steal what she couldn't earn. I kept it quiet. Didn't tell my dad, didn't post anything, just watched and waited. 6 months later, when that phone call came through at the hotel, I didn't flinch. Because I'd already built the trap. She just finally stepped in it. I didn't even sit down. As soon as I closed the hotel door behind me, I was already dialing David. He picked up fast. She tried, I said. I know, he replied. I was just about to call you. I kicked off my heels, pacing the thin carpet. What did she do? This morning, around 8, someone used her name to submit a request through an old third-party financial advisor. They tried to trigger a wire transfer. It bounced immediately. Did anything move? I asked. Not a cent. The deadbolt worked exactly how we designed it. And the attempt is logged. Name, IP address, authorization failure, timestamp, the whole thing. It's bulletproof. I let out a long breath, not relief. Just confirmation. So now we've got her on record trying to steal. He didn't sugarcoat it. Yes, and if she tries again, it only builds the case. But even just this one attempt is prosecutable under fraud statutes. I walked over to the little table by the window and pulled out my laptop. Send me everything. Full documentation. It's already in your inbox. I want to show it to my dad. He hesitated. Are you sure that's the move? She's been lying to him for years, I said. He needs to know who he married. All right, he said. If you're going to do it soon. The longer this sits, the more chances she has to twist it. I'm flying home tonight. I hung up before he could ask anything else. I opened my laptop, pulled up flights, and booked the earliest one I could find out of Chicago, 6:20 a.m., landing in Pittsburgh by mid-morning. It was a business class ticket I didn't care about affording. I wasn't showing up to that house looking worn out or unsure. Then I walked to the dresser, opened the side pocket of my bag, and pulled out something I hadn't touched in years. A picture. It was faded at the corners, creased from being stuffed into a drawer too long. My mom, standing in front of her first store, blue blazer, clipboard in one hand, keys in the other, smiling like she'd just won the lottery. She hadn't. She'd just signed the lease. That was my mom. Quiet but relentless. She didn't wait around for someone to hand her anything. She built it, earned every inch. When I was a kid, she used to say, "If you know they're coming for you, don't run. Turn around and meet them head on." I stared at her face for a long second. Then I folded the picture and slipped it into my wallet. I packed quick, tight, clean. Just the essentials. My hands were steady the whole time. No shaking, no second thoughts. This wasn't just about what Linda tried to take. This was about everything she'd been trying to erase since the day she walked into our house. I didn't care if Madison cried. I didn't care if Linda begged. And I didn't care if my dad looked at me like a stranger when I laid it all out. I was done being quiet. I zipped the suitcase, printed the flight confirmation, and sat down just long enough to charge my phone. This time, I wasn't walking into that house alone, scared or unsure of my place. I was walking in with proof. By the time I landed and picked up a rental car, it was barely 10:30. I didn't call ahead. I didn't text anyone. I just drove straight to my dad's house, hands locked tight on the steering wheel. I pulled into the driveway like I owned the place. That house used to feel like home. Now it just looked like a shell someone else decorated. The porch had new planters. The siding was a different shade. But I recognized the car lineup. Dad's truck, Linda's SUV, Madison's shiny new Lexus. Perfect. All three of them were home. I grabbed my folder from the passenger seat, walked right up the front steps, and rang the bell. Linda answered. Her face fell for half a second, then she slapped on a smile. "Rachel? Wow, this is unexpected. Where's Dad?" She blinked. "He's in the living room?" But I brushed past her without waiting. Dad looked up from the couch when I walked in, TV remote in hand, confused. Madison was on her phone, sprawled out next to him in leggings and a hoodie like it was still her house. Neither of them said anything for a second. I didn't sit. "I need all three of you to listen to me carefully," I said. "This isn't a visit. This is a confrontation." Madison scoffed. "What's your problem?" I opened the folder and held it out to my dad. "This is from David Kinley, Mom's lawyer." He took it, still confused. "What is this?" "Evidence," I said. "Proof that Linda tried to illegally access Mom's trust account yesterday morning." Linda stepped forward fast. "Okay, hold on. What are you talking about?" "She tried to wire money out of the trust, got blocked. The system flagged it, documented it, and sent it straight to the lawyer." Dad looked at the top sheet, then flipped to the next page. "This can't be right." Madison stood up now. "You came all the way here to accuse my mom of stealing? Are you serious right now?" "She used her name," I said. "She called an old financial firm pretending she had authority over the trust. She didn't. The request failed, and every move she made got recorded." Linda's voice got sharper. "I made no such request. I called the firm to update my own information. I have no reason to touch that account." "Really?" I said, stepping closer. "Then explain why your name's attached to a wire request submitted at 8:12 a.m., using a masked IP address from your house." Dad glanced up at her now, face starting to shift. Madison jumped in. "You're just jealous. You've hated us since the day we moved in. You're twisting everything to make Mom look bad." I ignored her. "I've kept my distance for years," I said, looking straight at Linda. "I never asked for money, never came around looking for favors. But I did protect what Mom left behind, because I knew you'd try this eventually." Linda's voice cracked. "This is insane. She's staging this. You really believe I'd do something like that to your daughter?" "I believe the paper in my hands," Dad said, voice low. I handed him the rest of the folder, printouts of the audit trail, screenshots of the flagged transaction, the deadbolt protocol we'd added. Everything laid out clean and simple. He took his time reading it. The room went dead quiet except for the sound of pages flipping. When he finally looked up, his face had changed, pale, tight around the mouth. Tell me the truth, he said to Linda, slow and quiet. Did you try to take money from Rachel's trust? She didn't answer. He asked again, louder this time. Linda, Madison stepped in front of her. She didn't do anything wrong. I'm not asking you, he snapped. Linda, did you touch that account? Her mask cracked all at once. I was trying to help Madison, she shouted. She's launching her business. You think Rachel was ever going to use that money? She's a glorified office temp. She hasn't done anything with her life. I didn't even flinch. Dad did. He looked like someone had punched him in the stomach. You lied to me, he said, voice shaking. For years, about everything. Linda tried to backpedal. Don't act like you were paying attention. You were gone half the time. I held this family together. He stood up, holding the folder like it weighed 50 pounds. Get out. What? She whispered. I said, get out of my house. Madison's jaw dropped. You're kicking her out? Over this? Over everything, he said. I let this go on way too long. Linda's voice was high, desperate now. She set me up. This was a trap. No, I said. You walked right into it. Linda's face twisted when Dad said it. Get out. But he didn't raise his voice. That's what made it hit harder. He looked tired, like he was finally seeing something he'd tried to ignore for too long. I gave you everything, she snapped. A home, a family. I held it all together while you were off working, and now you're choosing her? I'm not choosing anyone, he said quietly. I'm just seeing clearly. His voice cracked right at the end. The man I grew up with, the one who disappeared into meetings and long trips and quiet dinners, where I barely got a word in, he looked like he was about to fall apart. I stepped forward and pulled one last paper from my folder. There's something else you should see, I said, handing it to him. This one's not about the trust. He took it slowly, eyes scanning the printout. Those are transfers from your joint checking account over the past 3 years, I said. Round numbers, repeating patterns, always small enough to not raise alerts. He kept reading. Totals just under 14 grand, I added. All redirected into an account under Madison's name, but your signature's not on any of the authorizations. Linda's jaw tensed. Madison looked like she'd been slapped. Wait, what? What account? I never got that money. Linda spun around. Don't say another word. I didn't know about this, Madison yelled. You told me you were helping me with the business loan. Quiet, Linda barked. Dad's hand shook. How long has this been going on? Linda didn't answer. He tried again. Linda, tell me the truth. How long? Her voice dropped to a hiss. You were never around. What did you expect me to do? He looked like he'd been punched in the gut. So that's it. You used me. I took care of this house, she snapped. I raised Madison and kept your life in order while you vanished into work. Don't pretend like you were some kind of saint. He didn't yell back. He just pointed at the door. Get out, pack your things and go. I want you out by tonight. She didn't move. I'll call the lawyer, he said, voice hardening. You'll be hearing from him next. Linda looked at me like I was the devil himself. You planned this. You planted this. You've been waiting to take me down. No, I said, calm. I just kept the receipts. Madison looked between all of us, completely frozen. For once, she wasn't defending her mom. She wasn't saying a word. I didn't know, she mumbled finally. I swear, I didn't know about any of this. I didn't say anything back. What was there to say? Dad sat down slowly, elbows on his knees, the paper hanging loose in his hand. He looked hollow, not angry, not even surprised, just empty. Linda stormed off down the hall, heels pounding like a drum. No apology, no admission, just rage. And that was it. The lies didn't unravel. They collapsed, all at once. I didn't feel like celebrating. I didn't feel proud. I just stood there, watching the pieces fall exactly where I knew they would. The front door slammed so hard the picture frames rattled. Then, silence. Thick, awkward, too loud in a house that had just cracked wide open. Dad hadn't moved. I stayed standing, folder still in my hand, waiting to see if he'd say anything. He didn't. He just stared down at the rug like it might give him answers he hadn't already read in black and white. An hour later, the lawyer had everything he needed. David filed the paperwork the next morning. Attempted fraud, financial exploitation, and unlawful access to protected assets. Linda tried to spin it, of course, claimed I'd twisted things, that I'd always hated her, said I manipulated Dad when he was emotionally vulnerable. Didn't matter. The audit trail shut her down. The wire request had her name, her voice on the call, her IP address. The stolen money from Dad's joint account? Every transfer traced back to her laptop. Madison's bank never even processed the funds. They sat untouched in a dummy account Linda opened in her daughter's name. No way out. The DA didn't push for jail time. First offense, no prior record, but she was formally charged. Financial ban, restitution ordered, public embarrassment, exactly what she feared most. Dad barely spoke for days after it all hit. Stayed in the house, blinds drawn, barely eating. I checked in, but I didn't push. Then one night, he called me out of the blue. "Rach," he said, voice rough. "How long did you know?" 6 months, I told him. Ever since the lawyer called. Silence. I leaned back against my kitchen counter, phone pressed to my ear. "I didn't bring it to you right away because I needed proof. You wouldn't have believed me without it." He exhaled, shaky and slow. "I should have seen it. I let her twist everything. I let her turn me against my own daughter." "You wanted to believe the best in people," I said, "but that doesn't mean you failed. You just trusted the wrong one." He didn't say much after that, but when he hung up, he said, "I'm sorry. Not loud, not dramatic, but real." 2 days later, I got the email from Madison. Subject line, "I didn't know." She kept it short, said she never saw any of the bank stuff, swore her mom lied to her too, claimed she never meant to replace me or take what wasn't hers, said she was sorry. I stared at it for a long time. I didn't hate Madison, not like I hated Linda. She was just a product of the same messed up dynamic. She got used like the rest of us, shielded from the ugly parts. Still, I didn't answer right away. I let it sit for a few days before replying. "Thanks for your message. I hear you, but trust isn't automatic." That's all I said. No grudge, no forgiveness, just truth. And that's where I left it. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need to burn anything down. The truth did it for me. The morning I filed my LLC papers, I was sitting in a folding chair at a plastic desk in my apartment, still in pajamas, hair in a bun, coffee cold. I hit submit and stared at the confirmation screen for a full minute. It was done. I was finally building my own business. Consulting had always been the dream, helping small businesses get their operations in order, just like Mom used to do for her friends before she made it big. I already had clients lined up. I'd been doing side work for years. Now it was real. Now it had my name on it. The inheritance came through 2 weeks later, fully released and untouched, just like Mom intended. David called me that afternoon. "Your mother would be proud of you," he said, "and not just for protecting the trust, for what you're doing with it." "Thanks," I said. "I'm trying to do it right." "You are. I've seen people blow through money like this in a year. But you? You waited. You planned. She'd see that." I got off the call and just sat there in silence for a bit, not crying, just steady, solid. Dad showed up the next day, unannounced. He knocked like a visitor. I opened the door, and there he was, holding a small cardboard box and a paper bag of takeout. "I figured you probably haven't had lunch," he said. "I brought sandwiches and this." He set the box down on my kitchen counter. Inside were old pictures, receipts, a couple of my mom's notebooks, stuff I thought was long gone. "I found them in the attic," he said. "She kept everything." He pulled out a photo of her standing in front of her store in the snow, wearing a red coat and no gloves. "She never did like waiting for spring," he smiled. "Opened her first shop in February." I laughed. "That sounds about right." He stayed for hours. We sat at my little table, flipping through photos and telling stories. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest, and that was more than I ever thought I'd get with him again. 2 weeks later, I signed the lease on my first office. Small but bright. Big window, clean walls, plenty of space to build something. As I unpacked, I found one of Mom's old journals tucked into the bottom of the box Dad gave me. I hadn't looked through it until then. Halfway through, folded between pages, was a letter addressed to me. "Rachel, if you're reading this, I'm not with you anymore. But don't let that stop you. The world is yours. Be smart. Be steady. Trust yourself. And never apologize for building something better than what they gave you." I framed it, hung it right above my desk, eye level, dead center, my compass. Clients came quick. Word spread faster than I expected. By month 3, I was working with 24 small businesses. By 6 months, I had 2 part-time employees. Year 1, I broke even and then some. I didn't burn myself out. I didn't take shortcuts. I just worked the way mom used to, firm, fair, prepared. Dad stopped by often, brought coffee, helped with filing sometimes. But mostly, he just sat and talked. Your mom used to sketch logos in the margins of her planner, he told me one day, staring at my whiteboard. She'd change the name of her business every 6 months until she finally landed on one that stuck. Sounds familiar, I said. We talked more in that first year than we had in the last 10, and every time he left, I felt a little more sure of myself. This wasn't just my business, it was hers too. A month after I opened the office, David called again. Linda took the deal, he said. I leaned back in my chair, the hum of the desk fan the only sound in the room. No jail time? I asked. Nope, but it's not a walkaway either. She's barred from working in anything related to finance, business consulting, or fiduciary management. Permanent restriction. And she's paying restitution, full amount plus court fees. How's she paying it? I asked. She doesn't have that kind of money. He paused. She sold the house, moved into an apartment in Bridgeville. Smaller place. Quiet. So she didn't walk free. She just sank into a smaller version of the life she tried to steal from. Madison stayed in town. I'd see her around sometimes. Grocery store, bank, once at the post office. She never avoided me, but she never pushed either. We stayed polite, distant. She sent one more email, months after the first, just a check-in. Said she was in therapy. Said she was trying to understand how her mom shaped her view of the world. I didn't respond. Not because I hated her, but because I didn't have anything else to give. Some people you can forgive from a distance. Dad retired not long after that. Told me he didn't want to work another year pretending nothing had happened. He split his time between helping me at the office and volunteering at a local grief support group. I should have done this a long time ago, he said once, but I thought keeping busy would keep the pain out. It doesn't, I said. He nodded. No, but talking helps. I gave him a desk in the corner of our break room. Nothing fancy, just enough space for him to feel useful. He didn't touch business stuff, but he helped organize files, restock supplies, and proofread proposals when I needed an extra set of eyes. It wasn't about what he did. It was that he showed up, and that was enough. Some days when things got quiet, I'd sit in my office and look up at the framed letter from Mom. The words still hit the same. Be smart. Be steady. Trust yourself. I live by that now, not just in business, but in how I handled people, how I stood my ground, how I moved forward without waiting for someone else to give me permission. Losing my mom never stopped hurting. But I realized something. It wasn't just her money that protected me. It was how she raised me, the example she left behind, the way she built something from nothing and never looked back. Linda tried to rewrite that legacy, to twist it into something she could control, but she failed. Not because of the lawyer, not because of the documents, because I refused to back down. That was the real lesson. The hardest part wasn't defending what was mine. It was learning how to hold my line and mean it. 5 years later, I stood next to my dad on a hill in Mount Lebanon Cemetery, holding a bouquet of white lilies in one hand and Mom's letter in the other. The business had grown faster than I expected. 3 offices across Pennsylvania, 24 employees, steady clients who trusted me because I never sold them fluff. Just solutions, clean, sharp, honest. Dad came with me almost every week now. He still volunteered, still helped with filing when I let him, but mostly we spent time. No fixing, no awkward silences, just time. He bent down to clear a few leaves off her headstone and set the flowers at the base. She'd love the way you've handled things, he said. Not just the business, the whole damn thing. I gave him a half smile. She taught me more than she ever knew. He looked up at me. I wish I'd listened sooner. I should have backed you the way she would have. You're here now, I said. That's what matters. I unfolded the letter, read it again, same way I always did when we came. Didn't matter that I had it memorized. Trust yourself. Build something better than what they gave you. She'd written that for a 17-year-old kid who had no idea what was coming. But those words stayed with me through every lawsuit, every client meeting, every late night when I thought maybe Linda had been right. Maybe I wasn't cut out for more. But I was. I just needed time to find my footing. I tucked the letter back into its frame and stood there a minute longer, letting the wind blow through my coat. Dad stepped closer. I'm proud of you, Rachel. And she would be too. I didn't cry, I just nodded. Because I believed him. This wasn't about revenge, it never was. It was about making something real. Taking everything I'd been through, every betrayal, every quiet insult, every time they made me feel like I didn't belong, and building a life that couldn't be taken from me. The money helped, sure. But the real gift? It was the strength to protect what was mine without losing who I was. Mom gave me that. And now, standing there with my dad beside me, nothing missing, nothing hidden, I finally felt like I'd given it back.